next up, Rose Cohen.
Hi, I'm Rose Cohen. I have never worked on Main Street. I actually live in Oella, just across the river. I am a lover of nostalgia, a Howard County business owner with my husband for the past 17 years, and a resident of the region for over 4 decades, and a quilter. Rick and I specifically chose this community because we wanted to live somewhere that was beautiful, by running water, and in a community that's friendly, lively, creative, welcoming. Ellicott City fit the bill. What I never expected was to experience a community with such bravery and resilience and camaraderie, but I'm getting ahead of myself. One of my great loves is walking Main Street and being among the shop owners and other community members. I remember spending snow days sitting at a warm table by the big picture window in Phoenix and drinking wonderful beer with my burger and watching chilly drivers trying to make their way up Main Street in the snow. I would get lost in the colors and the smells of the clothing racks in the back of Discoveries. Do you remember that? And found many gifts among the pottery and the jewelry cases up front. When I tried my hand at stained glass, I got advice and encouragement and bought glass supplies from the Berkowitzes at great pains. And I was awestruck at the artwork decorating their windows. And I spent many hours over spicy hot tea with friends, people watching from my favorite seat in Bean Hollow, mentioned before, that beautiful old wooden bench at the front window. I'd read the latest napkin notes displayed on the walls and enjoyed the dark, rich smells coming when Gretchen would roast the beans for that week. These buildings and others in Ellicott City feel like old friends, creating welcoming spaces in town, reflecting our values as people living and working together, and in turn providing places for us to gather, explore, be creative, and get to know one another. They anchor our community and create places for us to feel safe, to learn about ourselves, where through the businesses inside we can directly support the economic growth of our community, build relationships, and support our neighbors. I was touched by the striking looks and majesty of these buildings as I frequented the businesses, and within their walls I unexpectedly received enormous lessons in community. In the midst of devastating tragedy and the shared loss of the recent floods, I was one of hundreds of people who worked side by side, who showed up unconditionally for each other, for our business owners, and for our community, to help salvage pieces of our lives. We got through these terrible events because of people. Resilient, courageous, tenacious people, pulling together to cherish and support and restore the community we built together. Regardless of how I or anyone feel about the removal of these buildings for the flood abatement plans, I will miss them, these old friends, these symbols of our lives we have pieced together so lovingly, and do not want them to fall silently into obscurity. I want to honor these buildings and the community created by their presence on Main Street by preserving their images and histories in the best way I know how, by creating artwork in their honor. When in college, I created a type of quilt called Essence Quilts, which goes beyond simply creating a visual image. Essence quilts capture the spirit of the subject of the quilt through the many creative decisions that the quilter makes, like fabric design, color selections, additions of buttons or lace or other embellishments, and many other decisions which work together to symbolize and convey the spirit, the soul, the essence of the subject. This artwork will honor and praise these buildings. And just like when we stood together, mud-covered and exhausted on Main Street, I want to collaborate on this quilt project with all of you through the stories and memories you have. Obviously a typo. Like when we retrieved and cleaned the fragments of our former lives to piece together what was next, I want us to gather the stories of these buildings and patch together a more full tale of this quilt. Around the edge of the quilt will be a wide border, which will contain written stories from people like you who think enough of these buildings to have come here this evening. In that border, I'll be writing selected quotes from you and from my interviews with the shop owners and building owners. Collectively, we will patch together and create a quilt capturing the essence of these buildings and the community they helped create. When finished, the quilt will hang in a public space to remind us of our experience in these old friends and the contributions they made. And perhaps the quilt will give others who never saw these buildings a sense of the presence, gifts, and love these buildings brought to our community. Thank you for your contributions this evening.